Welcome to the Incompetent Griller, where I'm going to teach you, an incompetent griller, how to look like you know what you're doing when grilling in front of your family and friends. Today we'll be rebelling against all I hold dear by making tofu burnt ends on a Weber kettle grill. The truth is, you can make burnt ends out of almost anything.
I want 2 kids, that's a rule, but that rule is negotiable if the kid's a...
Okay, I'm making this recipe for my daughter who recently told me,
I don't like food anymore.
Anyway, if we're going to do this, we've got to buy some firm or extra firm tofu and fill this tasteless monstrosity with as much flavor as we can. This tofu cost me $1.59 each, which was surprising as I expected the grocery store to be paying me to take this stuff off their shelves. We're going to make this more firm by pressing out some of its water content. Put a towel on a plate, then the tofu, followed by another towel, then a heavy plate, or several. You could otherwise add a 5-pound weight to the top. Leave this for about an hour, maybe 2, flipping over or swapping out your towels at the midway point, depending on how soaked they are. While you're waiting, if you're offended by the idea of grilling or smoking tofu, feel free to degrade me with put-downs in the comment section. However, you should know that your worst insults cannot compete with my own self-loathing. I'm doing this for the love of my daughter, and the only thing likely to stop me from making this recipe is Obi-Wan Kenobi doing a Jedi mind trick on me.
You want to go home and rethink your life?
I want to go home and rethink my life.
Once your tofu is sufficiently dry, cut it into bite-sized cubes. We'll then put it in a container with some teriyaki marinade so that each piece can soak up some flavor. I'm using Kinder's teriyaki marinade. Let the cubes marinate for at least 1 hour in the refrigerator, turning them over after about 30 minutes so all sides get a chance to take in the flavor. Hello from future me. I was about to say that this marinating step is key, as otherwise you're only going to get flavor on the outside and end up biting into a sad lump of nothingness. However, spoiler alert, this marinating accomplished nothing. If there are any vegetarians I have not already offended, please tell me how I can get some flavor on the inside. Do I need to marinate these longer? Do I need to inject them? How do you cope with eating this stuff? Alright, back to the present. Throughout all these steps, while you're waiting, you might consider teaching yourself to bounce across the room on your head, like Strong Bad.
You're freaking me out.
I'd like to promise you that you won't get brain damage from doing this, but I can't, so I won't. Once an hour has passed, sprinkle on a barbecue rub of your preference. I'm using Kinder's Habanero Pineapple Rub and Seasoning, as I'm hopeful that it will pair well with the teriyaki marinade. Toss the cubes around with your hands to get the seasoning on all sides, then move your cubes onto a wire rack. Get your coals going in a chimney, then pour them out on one side. My coals are already in place, as I just finished smoking the hot dog burnt ends and blooming bologna blossoms that you saw in my previous videos. Add a piece of mesquite or hickory wood, as these woods create a stronger smoke that should help flavor your tofu. With the grill grate in place, add your rack of tofu to the indirect heat side and put the lid on. Also, adjust your bottom vent to halfway open to keep your smoking temperature a little lower. Just remember, as William Shakespeare wrote,
If it be true thou art looking, verily thou art not cooking.
Shakespeare!
We're going to be smoking these in 30-minute increments, during which time you can learn how to draw a dragon using Strong Bad's simple step-by-step instructions. He makes drawing fun.
I think I need to start over. This thing doesn't look natural.
At the 30-minute mark, the tofu should be taking on some decent smoky color. They're still pretty squishy, so I'm going to rotate the tray and leave them on for another 30 minutes. When I checked the tofu after an hour, the cubes were still pretty squishy and the bottoms looked pretty pale, so I flipped each piece over to allow the bottom sides to take on some smoky flavor as well. That's why you see the weird markings on the tofu. Now that 90 minutes have passed, my wife has determined that these are about as dry as we're going to be able to get them, so we'll bring the cubes inside where we'll put them in a tin pan. We'll add a few pads of butter along with a sprinkling of brown sugar. Lastly, be sure to add enough barbecue sauce to coat the tofu. I'm using Sweet Baby Ray's sweet teriyaki barbecue sauce. Place this tray back on the indirect heat side and then put the lid back on for 10 minutes. Once 10 minutes have passed, stir the mixture. Repeat this step every 10 minutes until the sauce becomes tacky. Now that 20 to 30 minutes have passed, bring the tray in to let everything cool off before you bite into it. Here comes the moment of truth as I ask my daughter to take a bite.
Yeah, good. Excellent.
Apparently that muffled sound was a positive review. Admittedly, these aren't too bad, but I definitely prefer meat. I wish the marinade had been able to penetrate better, because that sauce is delicious. Anyway, I'm going to stop this video now and head over to Marzipan's Meatless Luau. Let me know of your own successes down in the comments after trying this method yourselves. Have a great day.